Welcome back to another exciting episode of Joe Ketchapalia talking about building a shipping container home. If you're new to the channel, which I have a whole bunch of new people lately, which thank you very much for showing up and taking a look. I'm, just documenting my build of a shipping container home. I also on this channel talking about a tiny home project that I'm working on, and I'm hoping to have a lot more projects like these in the future. But so today we're focused on this one. I'll tell you a little bit about it, but if you're interested in more of this content, please take this time to subscribe. I always forget to say that until the end, so I'd appreciate it. You'll see I make a ton of mistakes, so there'll be things that you can see me doing that maybe if you want to do something similar in the future, you can avoid those. And that's sort of what I'm hoping with these. But as the sign there says, that we're trying to change our plans again, maybe. So last time we talked about, we have our containers in place on the ground screws. And now you can see from the slope, it's really clear, why we wanted to do a ground screw, why we're doing a container home. Building just any sort of traditional home on this lot wouldn't have been easy. Not that this has been easy, but it would have been more difficult. And so the next thing that we're working on is building this bridge that goes across from these two openings, because this is going to be one single family home. It's going to be 3 bedrooms, 2.5 baths. We're setting it up as a short-term rental, to use as Airbnb. I've talked about that a little bit in other videos, but it's going to be something as we start to really stage it out. I'll talk about that sort of stuff again. But so right now we're working on building that bridge, and this is where we've got a little bit of a decision to make. So running into some, I think we're going to have some budget issues. It seems like we have a lot left to do, and we've already spent a lot of the budget. Some of the line items are a little fuzzy when we're doing this because this isn't a traditional home, and so what we're calling things and where we're moving them hasn't been as clear as I would have liked, and as it's been on projects that I've worked on for other people. And so because of this worry, we're trying to look at every possible way to save money on this build without reducing the value or the appeal of the property at the end of the day. And one of the things that we've just recently started looking at is, this structure over that bridge, which is right here in the plans, is costly and maybe not really doing a whole lot for us. And so one of the things we look at this in cross, this is a side view of this. Originally in that structure, we were going to have the hot water heater and we were going to have the air handler. And part of the reason for that was we were going to have all the ducts running in this space, and basically we're building an attic. If you look at this measurement, this point right here is really the top of the shipping container. Excuse me. And so we were going to raise the roof above that. One of the things that we've decided to do, and we had talked about this early on, is using exposed duct work. We finally made the decision after pricing out the AC work recently that we're going to do all exposed ducts. And so what does that mean? So that means those ducts are now going to go below the container ceiling. And remember, these are 9.5 feet ceiling. So having these exposed ducts up there, nobody should be bumping their heads on those or anything. And I really kind of like the aesthetic of it. This is actually a picture in another shipping container with a white painted roof. So it should look somewhat similar to ours. Although I'm not sure about, how we're doing, if we're running conduit for the wire. You'd think I'd know at this point. I don't, so sorry about that. So yeah, we get to move that down. That lets us shrink the attic space quite a bit. And we're actually saving a decent amount of money by doing that, relative to our already small budget. But what it doesn't address is then we just have this big tall section that is a little bit more money to build because it's a second floor. It makes us have to make that bridge a little stronger. And then also just the extra labor of putting the hot water heater and the air handler up there initially, and the fact that they're going to be sitting up in an attic, which is not conditioned space. So what we have to do is figure out what to do with those. And now that the ductwork is going to be lower, we don't really need that attic air handler. We're going to use an upright one, and then the initial ducts will come off of the top of it, and which makes it so that this lower height is actually beneficial for us. And so what the plan is we're going to take this wall and move it out. Or this is the proposed plan. My contractor actually just talked to me about this yesterday. So basically this is where it currently is, and it would we'd be moving that line a little bit back in this direction. And so this is about the footprint that it would be then. And so we're not blocking this egress window, although we have had talks about just moving the window over to the other side. Trying to minimize the amount of plans that we're changing, but we're going to do it all at once at this point. So one of the things, so first we move the hot water heater down, move the air handler down, or the HVAC inside system, and then another benefit that we get from this is we're just going to move the laundry, the washer and dryer over to there, and that gives us a little bit more flexibility in this space. Which, if you look, there's a prior video about, do we need this half bath, or is it a problem that it's in the kitchen? Not in the kitchen, but the door is off the kitchen. But by moving the upright laundry out of that spot, we can actually move the doorway to that over here, make it just a little bit further. Maybe we'll still leave this bump out to the pantry. So just a little bit more separation there. So that's a benefit. I think we're getting some cost. But so what are we losing here, right? Well, one thing is we had two windows on this wall. And if we expand it and we have the mechanicals and the laundry here, there's not going to be a window here anymore. Stackable washer and dryer, you can't put a window above that. And then the hot water heater and the HVAC, will be in a closet. So we'll be using this space. So no more windows there. Now, I don't think that's the end of the world, because this space turned out to be a little bit smaller than I thought anyway. So shrinking it further. Initially, we thought maybe we'd plant a nice little bush or tree or something that's flowering and would be nice to look at. But it's a pretty small space. If we end up doing that, I don't know that it's really going to be the way that I had thought initially when the architect presented that idea. And this is why, now that things are in place and we can actually stand there and look at things, it gives me a much better idea than just looking at it on paper. So I don't think losing those windows is the end of the world. The real issue for me is we've had a lot of problems with the permits, getting them approved, when we change the foundation a little bit, getting that approved. I don't want this small change, which is saving us some money, but it's not enough to warrant a big delay. And so we're going to work on getting a change like this approved, but I'm hopeful it will happen quickly. But I think it could, even just focusing on this and I don't want to hold things up at all with it, basically. And so I think that's the bigger risk. I think this actually is a pretty good plan. The other thing, we do lose a little bit of this aesthetic, right? But we're already shrinking this down a little bit. And so then this going further down, I don't think really causes that. You won't get the same look, but you can see we're already out in the trees. People aren't really going to appreciate. This is from the back, not the front, so it's not really the roof line, I think, that makes this home special. But in any case, I'm curious what you think. If you don't mind putting a comment below, if you think we should just stick with the original plans and move forward and deal with the expense, but not risk adding the extra time. That was actually my initial feeling, is that if I just have to pay a little more, I'd like to just stick with what we have and move forward. Just because it has been such a battle getting these approved. As I mentioned, I think that a lot of that was self-inflicted by our team, but I don't think that was all of it. So whether or not we can do this in a quick manner, we'll see. I think that's the biggest downside, but what do you think? I mean, do you have some other thoughts on it? Am I missing something on the downside? Or do you think, yeah, this is a no-brainer, you should just do it, save the money, um, you know, just figure out how to get that approved if it delays it a little bit. There's plenty of other things for us to work on at the moment, and I think that's sort of what the contractor's thinking, is that we can save this towards closer to the end. In any case, I would like to hear your opinion. Also, if you haven't liked the video at this point, if you've watched it this far, then hopefully we can agree that you like it. So that would be nice if you go ahead and click that like button. And yeah, that until next time, I will keep making mistakes so that you don't have to. If you're new, that's my sign off. I love it, right? It's perfect.